Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you game 2 of a best of 3 between Icarus and Per Kiilstofte in the semi-finals of the WARNO League Super Tournament ran by the Simulated Divisions League. Today they are playing on Mount River Duel, and on our left in the blue team we have Icarus playing with the 11th Parachutiste, and on our right in the red team we have Per Kiilstofte playing with the 8th US Infantry Division. Icarus put up a fantastic showing in the first game, really quickly dismantled Kiilstofte's second UK, which is not what I expected whatsoever going into that game. This time around picking another fast and furious division in the form of the 11th. Kiilstofte, he's going to want to take one back if he wants to remain in this best of 3, and needs to win 2 more games if he wants a chance at the $166 first place prize. Let's see what's going down on the field here. On the top for Icarus, he has the leader and the chasseur Para. Just going to be dropping the leader into Lima, I imagine, and then the chasseur Para going to be carrying on. We've got the Para Mistrals backed up by VLRA Milan, chasseur Para with the VLRA 20mm, another leader for the bottom side. Another bunch of Mistrals and more chasseur Para and a ERC 90 Sage. On the right side we have a M113 ACAV for Kiilstofte on the top with a MUT CP and a mech rifle dragon with the PVADs. The center, it's going to be the LRS, but they're not going to beat Icarus to the center of this map due to Icarus's forward deployment. Mechanized rifles heading to the bottom side. M981 FISTV, going to be a recon vehicle heading to the bottom. Not often I've seen those. The iHawk moving in. PVADs. We've got the M60A3 TTS, M728CV, PVADs, mechanized rifles, ITO, another mechanized rifles down here. Plenty of leaders on both sides. Kiilstofte actually going with 3 MUT CPs at the start. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. He might want to keep one near the iHawk so that it gives it extra veterancy and makes it more accurate, whilst he continues to put pressure onto X-Ray. And then when he gets into X-Ray, he can start to bring up the leader in order to actually capture that. But Icarus here into a fantastic position early on, going to be reinforcing the bottom side with some 80 GMs. But the chasseur Para taking up position in these buildings. The leader's going to come up and capture this, and Icarus is going to be ticking up very early on. This map seems to favor advanced deployment so much more than any other map I've seen in 1v1. It really does. But usually what would happen is the red side would get control over these 2 sectors, and then the blue side would get control over the center sector if both sides had the same advanced deployment capability. The mechanized rifles with Dragon going down very quickly to the triple chasseur Para, and they are being upvetted by the leader as well, so all 2 vet across the board there. Sage also trying to help out. The F111 coming in with the laser guided bomb does take out 1 chasseur Para. Gonna come round again, take out a second chasseur Para, I imagine, or potentially the ERC 90 Sage. Oh, it did get hit, however, by the Mistral. Going to have to be careful. Doesn't want to overcommit that, so we'll have to fall it back. M60s. Icarus microing the ERC 90 well. But these M60s will put down a lot of pain onto the infantry. A nice catch there from the ITO. Taking out the VLRA 20mm at maximum range. But yeah, these M60s are going to be doing a decent amount of damage thanks to their double machine gun setup. Machine gun on the top, they've got the machine gun coaxial, and then the M68 gun firing away both those chasseur Para, taken out nice and quick. Gazelle Hot Ones trying to move into position to prevent this armor push from becoming too much. The VLRA Milans are arriving, but a lot of the reinforcements that are going to be coming to this bottom side are a long way away. That is one thing about Mount River, is the reinforcing roads are really far. So you're going to have to like be pre-prepared for what's coming your direction and kind of preemptively try and guess or predict, I would say, what your opponent is going to bring. So the M113 going down to those VLRA Milans. They're in an okay position, but the M60s are going to manage to get into this tree line, which will make it difficult for these Milans to engage without being in gun range. Meanwhile, the Humvee here zooming up with the mechanized rifle Dragon and not finding any infantry. So Commihawk really kind of betting on the fact that the triple chasseur para he already saw was the only infantry defense on this bottom side. And with that being the case, he's basically pushed this infantry really quite far up. Mirage F1 CT coming in there with the laser guided bomb onto the PVADs though. Does clean that up, leading for future airstrikes on this bottom side. We might see a Mirage bomber come in and try and take out some of these mechanized rifles at some point. But more Mistrals are being invested in, which I find an interesting choice. He's obviously putting them in position to try and catch out the F111 if it comes back in on the bottom side. Oh, a nice kill from the ERC-90 Sage though. Actually takes out the M60 at close range. You mustn't forget that these ERC-90s still have a decent amount of penetration at maximum range. So 2,275 meter range. When they're getting closer, they're dealing more damage. So that ERC-90 able to just chew those M60s if it can get the first shot off. But the M151 MUT CP has come up and will cancel out the advantage that Icarus had in income. So now it's really up to Icarus to just kind of either hold the line or pressure back on this bottom side. But it will be difficult. I like the way that Pro Commihawk is using a lot of these vehicles, the M728 and the M60s, because they're cheap, but they provide great fire support. But it's still something that Icarus is going to struggle to deal with. You know, he's very dependent on these HGMs to find the kills, and what you can do with any of these vehicles is kind of bait the HGMs quite a lot. It's the ERC-90 Sage that he's got to try and get rid of. So he's going to move the M113 forwards first. So the ERC-90 engages that, reveals its position, and then the M60 can turn its gun and potentially get a shot on target. He's actually ended up smoking, and here comes the bomber. Jaguar coming in there, dealing plenty of damage. Oh, mechanized rifles in the open, unloading just in time. Here go the chasseurs. Nice kill by the Stinger, taking out the Hot 2. And on the bottom side, ERC-90 Sage does go down. So here comes the H1F Cobras. This might also be another reason that Icarus invested so heavily into the Mistrals, because Cobras are a very common sight with the 8th Infantry. And once again, we see them in action. F-16 actually flying around to prevent Mirages from coming into play. Because one thing that the French player would do in this position is invest in Mirage F1Cs to try and take out those AH-1Fs, especially considering the PVADs wasn't in position yet. So I like the preemptive use of the F-16. But Icarus currently making some ground back into this sector. And whilst he did lose a couple, or at least one of the VLRA Milans here, he's managed to clean out the infantry, including the mechanized rifle with the law that got had to abandon its transport out in the open. So that chasseur pad are going to move back, but plenty more to come in its place. Stinger still slowly moving forwards and taking more kills. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's really up to those Mistrals to hit the mark here. F1 CT coming in with a laser guided bomb, completely swung them into the middle of nowhere. And the F-16 not able to solidify the kill. And the F-111 getting away from 4 Mistrals. These are some crazy air engagements. The Mirage 2000 also failed to get its Super 530 on target, which is a 50% accurate 6HE missile with 7,775 meter range. So I would say both sides there getting out of that very unscathed when they really probably shouldn't have. And, well, maybe that's just the beauty of high-tier gameplay in WARNO. The LRA making a run for it across the riverfront. Jasperpada coming under fire once again. The M728CV getting its gun on target. And the one thing I will say about these is they have incredibly low rate of fire. They have a rate of fire of 4 rounds per minute. When you have multiple of them, they can chunk very quickly indeed. And if they catch out your infantry in the open, then they're in for a bad time. The LRA Milan engaged the M113. Ito tried to send one back, but missed. And here come the Gazelle Hot 2s again. So far, Icarus not been so careful with these Gazelles. And the Stinger here might just get another free kill if he's not too careful. The VLRA Milan does get taken out by the M1 Abrams as well. Okay, Icarus is not moving this at all. It's going to be a free kill. Oh, the Milan actually the Hot 2 I guess it is, actually hitting the mark onto the M60 though. Unfortunate. Well, here comes the Mirage F1 CT on the backside. Mirage 2000 still hanging about back there as well. But as long as it stays as it is, Icarus is sitting in the driving seat. But the longer that this game goes and the more armor that Commihawk builds up, the more chance Commihawk will have at making a solid comeback. F-16 coming in close. Will get forced back by the Mirage 2000. And the Mirage 2000, oh, taken out by the Eyehawk. And then the Mirage F1 CT forced to make a reply as both of these crash into the mountainside over here. That Eyehawk, what a snipe. I love to see it. Right, Milan 2. Will it catch the UH-60? Oh, not quite. Also ends up dropping a load of flares as the Mistrals try and have a go. F111F coming in, looking for the laser-guided bomb on target, but ends up getting taken down. Nice investment there into the Mistrals, finally paying off. This +2 still ticking. And if Icarus just continues to defend in this position, could be game winning. So the pressure's really on Commihawk here to bring in the winning combination to push this back. And at the moment, relying on helicopter reinforcement, which is actually a pretty good idea. The nice thing about helicopter reinforcement is it speeds up the rate at which your reinforcements get to the front line. And it can really compound over time, because every time you come in and you drop a helicopter and you go back and sell it, you can buy another squad, and then another squad, another squad, and buy at some point what ends up happening is you get all of these spare points from using all of the transports, and it can really just build into a huge sort of momentum pushing into your opponent. But Commihawk has managed to break down the infantry that was here regardless, without too much effort so far. M109A2 has been invested in as well and does take out the Milan 2. It's also queued to take out the second Milan 2 here in the building. AH-1F trying and failing once again to deal with Icarus's AA. I can't help but feel at this point, you know, investing into aircraft, investing into helicopters, it's a bad idea. Until these Abrams, Bradleys, the CEV have dealt with the Mistrals, or at least forced the Mistrals out of position, you can't really invest into those helicopters and support aircraft, because otherwise you're just going to be feeding when you could have otherwise brought in more units on the ground. And it looks like more units on the ground is exactly what Commihawk is now investing in, with multiple mechanized rifles of dragons on the way, with the engineers and the M728 CEV. So doing well. Paramarines moving up from Icarus into position on this bottom side thanks to the smoke support of the mortars. Jaguar looking for the seed kill onto the Eyehawk. But the Eyehawk, it gets the kill back. He did manage to take out one Eyehawk with that seed, but the second Eyehawk got the kill. Now the M109 taking out the second Milan 2 on this bottom side. Those Milans aren't cheap. The Milan squads themselves, quite pricey. F1 CT coming in. Is that a laser guided bomb onto the Eyehawk? I thought it was. No, it was actually onto the M1 Abrams. Doesn't manage to get away with it as the PVADS lands its burst on target. Actually a big loss there for Icarus, as I think the Mirage F1 CT, you only get one on a card. Now Commihawk actually pushing up on the top side with the mechanized rifles. We've seen this map played before, where both sides were just having a staring contest. This time around, Commie is making a move here, which may force Icarus to reinforce, and it does indeed, taking away more points from this bottom side where Commie has invested. The engineers unloaded alongside the mechanized rifles. So the engineers are just going to dive straight for the building. Okay. Commihawk just making me eat my words. But the Stinger hopefully takes out the Hot 2 for him. Mech rifles on the top side do get bombed out by the Jaguar. EVADS did a decent amount of damage. Can the F-16 finish the job? It's got one more Sparrow. Will it land on target? Not enough time. And the infantry of Commie hucked on the bottom side has been taken out. F-16 takes a hit from the Mistral along the way. But this is a very large push here from Commihawk into the center. M1 Abrams supported by a Bradley. You'll love to see it. And then he's also got the M1 Abrams on this side, supported by the Engineer M728 CEV. And they have managed to clean out at least one of the Chassepara so far, and there is only one left. Here comes the second F1 CT. Did that even drop its bomb? It did not. That's going to be on reload for a while, taking that much damage. Chassepara gets spotted, and the mechanized rifles with the dragons going to be able to clean those out, no doubt. And this MUT CP will fully capture this, and it's not going to be likely that the 7-man leader squad's going to be able to get back into position. What a shot there from the Abrams. A triple kill. Absolutely crucial. And the Jaguar, it doesn't manage to get its cluster on target. Eyehawk hits the mark, forcing that back just at the same as the Mirage F1 CT. That was huge. Make sure you spread out your units, boys, because that can happen to basically any unit. If you have two units next to each other, you can get double kills. So those Milans not being spread out really cost Icarus there, because those Milan trucks, they're 55 points apiece. That was 165 points deleted in one shot by an M1 Abrams, and these things aren't exactly too expensive. 220 points, so yeah, lovely kill. And it was so important that he landed that, because otherwise probably at least one of those Milans were going to land on target on that M1, and there was a good chance it could have been two. Now VBL Milans coming in. These are small little recon cars with Milans on the back of them. That one's going to land the shots onto the M1 Abrams, showing what could have happened to the one in the open. Paras looks like they're trying to use smoke support to push into the next sector, because Commihawk, he has found himself the +2 now that he fully controls the center of the map. The leader's going to do a runner. Oh, M728 CEV. Can it smoke itself off? I'm not sure it can. Might have already used its smoke, or might not even have smoke. And the mechanized rifles and the engineers here will catch up and eventually kill off that leader for sure. The M109A2 engaging at super close range here. Oh, here comes a Jaguar though. Looking for the bombing strike onto the mechanized rifles to try and keep the leader alive. Does manage to take down the mechanized rifle leader, but will the PVADs finish the job? The Chaparral firing a missile and not hitting the mark. The Jaguar HE gets away with a slither of health, but there is no AT on the Para, so PVADs finish it off. So no real easy way for Icarus to capture back the mid, and another Gazelle Hot 2 lost very easily there. I feel like Icarus, he did a much better job sort of micromanaging his units in the first game. In this game, he has kind of allowed Commihawk to kill way too many of these helicopters for free, in my opinion. Alas, the mortars firing away once again with the smoke. The Paras Marine dying again before the smoke lands. That's just a missed timing there a couple of times, but it is costing him some pretty pricey infantry. Like these Para Marine, 70-point squads. Now the big thing that's great about these is their apparatus, not necessarily their ability to take on enemy infantry. And the mechanized rifles sat in these buildings with 3 M249s is certainly going to beat the Paramarines with their 1 machine gun at range. So the smoke is needed to get them close in order to benefit from their shock trait. But if they're getting killed before they can even move forwards, then the smoke's just becoming a big waste. And that smoke is costing supply. It will need to be resupplied over time. So we're back into a position here where Icarus is going to have to smoke some Paramarine into the center objective. F-16's hanging out because he probably anticipates an airstrike to help with the push. Mirage 2000 looking to fend off the F-16. So really solid positioning now for Commihawk as he maintains the center of the map. Let's see if these Paramarines can do the job. The mechanized rifles with the Dragon can't engage these transports with their ATGM within 300 meters. So the Paramarines have managed to get on top of that infantry unit and will take it out pretty quickly, I imagine, thanks to the shock trait. This Paramarine on the bottom side, meanwhile, still getting hit by the M109 and got chunked down to 4 health. This leader going to be targeted next. But the Paramarines, they actually got the job done without taking many losses at all. Still 8 men left in that squad. Now Paramarines on the bottom side being engaged, but at least they've got all their guns on target. The FAMAS engaging with the mechanized rifles, but the mechanized rifles with all those machine guns are still going to be causing a lot of problems. Also the M60A3 and getting involved with the M13s. All these 50 cals are a big problem for these infantry at range, and so they are getting chewed up very quickly. It seems like Icarus is focusing most of his efforts into the center sector, and he's diving Paramarine into engineers, which do have the satchel charge. Both the Paramarines have gone down on the bottom side. These ones haven't managed to get into the building, whilst the engineers managed to get off another satchel. Things are not looking good with these pushes. He's so infantry dependent and smoke dependent that anytime there isn't smoke, he's just going to get decimated. And he knows there's probably not any way back into this game. Pulls it there. Pro Commihawk taking the second game in this best of 3. Fantastic stuff. Icarus there. 3,310 kills, 3,450 losses. Very, very dominant positioning early on thanks to the forward deployment, but Commihawk finding a good way to break down those initial forces and manage to not panic, just take it easy and eventually just push Icarus out. And then at that point, Icarus, he's a parachute division with not really much armor as a backbone. And that is incredibly difficult to hold, especially against a very strong division like the 8th Infantry. So there we have it. A very sort of typical engagement between these two divisions, 11th getting the advantage early on, and the 8th stomping them out in the mid to late game. So M1, what an absolute chat, killing so many of these VLRA Milans. The 11th Parachutiste, such a micro-intensive division. And unfortunately, I felt like Icarus, unlike in the first game, didn't really pull that off this time around. And it cost him. But a fantastic second game, and that does mean that we will be moving on to a third game in this best of 3. Exciting stuff. I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the third game very soon. Goodbye.